Well, hello everybody, hope you are well. Now, if you have listened to my podcast, you will know I often talk about coming down the allotment every day after work. And in this week, what I thought I'd do is just take you on a daily video vlog to show you what I do each day. So let's start down the top here. So I always start in the same area every time I come here, and this is the overwintered onion bed. And what I generally just do is just a bit of weeding, which actually this bed hasn't got any weeds in it, so that's quite grateful. But I am starting to notice some of my onions are sending up some flower spikes, so we're going to have to start removing those flower spikes, and we can use those flower spikes like spring onions, so it doesn't get wasted and it becomes quite tasty. Now, after this bed, I then move on further down through all the beds. So this bed here is in pretty good condition, to be said. So I'm not overly worried in terms of weeding. But what I have done is I've planted some new onions out at the weekend, and they are in desperate need of establishing. So I think the first thing we've got to do is water these in. After watering the onion bed, I then headed down to my garlic bed, which is the next bed down, and gave that a bit of a weeding as well. And then I finished off with my asparagus bed. My asparagus bed is particularly weedy, and I like to give it a few minutes on every visit to try and get on top of it. I'm not winning, as you can see, but by making everyday changes does make a difference, I have found. Now, after that, I then harvested some asparagus as well as the spring onions and headed home with my bounty, which is great and exactly what I wanted for our tea. Well, I'm back down on the allotment today after work, and all I am doing again, starting in the same place, and working my way around these 6 beds, which basically is going to take me seconds because I've been doing them so much every day that there's very little chance for weeds to become present, and if they are, they take seconds to get out. That's all the weeds I've got from these 6 beds. So instead we're going to move down to this half, which is a little bit more challenging. But as I said, because we're doing this regularly, it gets easier and easier. So first bed, this bed is currently empty. It's meant to be having peas growing into it, but I'm having trouble getting peas germinated. So I'm going to grow some peas at home and then bring them down here pretty soon once I feel they are big enough to establish. So we want to get this completely clear of weeds before that happens. But the advantage is when it's empty, it's very easy just to run the hoe through and get rid of a lot of these weeds. Added to that, the more I run the hoe through the bed more regularly, the less weeds there are, which is where I've been focusing too much on other areas before getting this ready, which is going to change from now on in. Well, this middle bean bed is a bit of a tricky one, again, like I said with the asparagus, but this is couch grass, which is always a bit of a problem and one of my biggest problems. This was one of the first beds that I ever built on this allotment, and I was in a bit of a rush when I started this allotment off, so I never really got on top of the couch grass here. I do find, as I said, by coming down here every day and just tackling the beds as often as I can, we do get somewhere with it. As I said, it's only taken me seconds to do the top 6 beds because I've been on top of those, and I've just now got to keep carrying that on every day, or almost every day I should say, throughout the rest of these beds in order to keep on top of it. Now the good thing is with this bed, there are broad beans plants in here, which makes it tricky because they are already growing, so I can't just get the hoe in here. But what I am seeing is we've got broad beans actually showing themselves now, which is great. We had a bit of a problem with broad beans this year in that this was our second sowing. The first batch got wiped out by the frost. Well, unfortunately I was unable to get to the allotment on Thursday. I forgot the keys, and Thursday is usually the day I cut the grass areas. So on Friday when I came here today, I had to start off by strimming and cutting all the grass areas, and then I used that grass clippings as a bit of a mulch on some of our garlic. Just a great way I find of suppressing weeds and conserving moisture. Really works, really works. Now on Friday today I have done a bit of weeding in the beds that I've already done, and that took a matter of seconds after obviously catching up with yesterday's work. But Friday is also the day that I feed my plants, and I call this Feed It Friday as a way to remember this, just a little acronym or whatever you may call it, to add a bit of fun. And it's just a case easy of going around adding feed to the plants as we go around. Feed It Friday, very easy to remember. Of course, that then leads to us getting some nice vegetables. Let me show you what I've harvested today. So look at all this, more rhubarb. This is our second picking of rhubarb from the allotment this week. We've still got rhubarb at home as well. Asparagus, our second picking of asparagus this week, and just look, you know, that's a good meal for the wife and I in asparagus alone. But the real first thing that I've harvested today is the broad beans. They're finally ready. Really pleased to get some broad beans because this is our second sowing. These are quite young, so they should be really flavourful, and it's really makes me very happy to get these. Now, like I said, this is Friday, and usually I'll be coming down tomorrow on a Saturday to do a bit more on the allotment. It's my wife's birthday tomorrow, so I'm definitely not going to be down here on Saturday. And if this bit is in the video, it means that I haven't been able to come down on Sunday either. But my point being with this video is that I wanted to show how I tackle this little and often route that I often talk about on the podcast, coming down here daily and just doing half-hour weeding and watering, feeding, cutting the grass means that come the weekend I can do the bigger jobs. If I was to come down this weekend, I'd be planting up my sweet corn and my tomato plants. That in the past, if I just came down on the weekends, I would spend all my time weeding and watering. So for me, this has been the biggest game changer that I have found. Little and often, regular visits, keeping on top of everything. Now, had I came down on Thursday, we would have got the potato beds sorted. Unfortunately, that didn't go to plan. But never mind that. We've got next week. It's not going to take long to run through all the beds that I've already done on Monday and get them done. And then I can start working on the potato beds and follow that routine every day. Soon it is all taken care of. It's such a great way I've found to keep the allotment done. Right guys, thank you so much for joining me. Check out the podcast if you want to find out more of what's going on here at the Veg Grower Podcast. You take care. I'll speak to you again next time.